I'm talking in the microphone. Testing. Testing. We're on. We're on. Look at that. We're on. Welcome. Okay, just a little bit down on the volume. Welcome to Live at the Reiki Center. This is our third broadcast from Alliston, Ontario. We're still fussing around with our technology. We have a team at work here tonight. We've practiced with being close up and being far away and various sound tools, the microphone. I've got a new microphone, so hopefully this will go over really well tonight. What do I need to tell you? Oh, the Reiki Center. It's a space for spiritual seekers to gather, to pray together, to meditate together, to study, and to feel supported in their spiritual growth, no matter what their path is. So we welcome you tonight. It's going to be a little bit different than the first two segments that we've recorded. The first one, I went too fast. Had a lot of information. It was a great teaching, but I think it might leave a few people behind, and it was a little bit long. The second one, we went really slow. It's almost like Goldilocks and the Three Bears and the Porridge. So we were too fast, we were a little slow. Although the dialogue in the second recording, the second broadcast was phenomenal. We got some really brilliant material moving with our fantastic studio audience. So this time we have a specific topic, and the topic is on, by the grace of God, I am free of all financial worry. And I plan on breaking that sentence down into 3 or 4 definitive segments. But before we do that, if everybody's ready, anything else I need to say? No, we're going to put across the bottom any information, any website information, or any chat room, any technical information you might require. So in the meantime, sit back and relax, and we'll do our opening meditation that will gather us together. We have a much smaller studio audience tonight, but I think they're just as powerful, so we're going to have some fun. All right, so on my little clipboard, before we go into the topic for tonight, excuse me, I hope this doesn't mess up my microphone. We'll have to check with my tech support and make sure that doesn't happen. There we go. We're going to have a few words from Yeshua to get us started. So take a nice deep breath, settle into your seat, settle into your sit bones, open your heart space, take a nice long, slow in-breath. And while I'm trying to find my little spot here, create the intention of a chalice. We're going to build a chalice with all the individuals that are participating with us here tonight, or any individuals who may join in at a later date. Time and space is irrelevant. So close your eyes if you want, or gaze softly at something that is not distracting, the wall, the floor, or a candle. I like to close my eyes so that I can feel the participation, and I can sense when and where we need to go with our direction. So take another nice, long, slow, deep breath. Let your shoulders drop. Find your sit bones. Find your tailbone. Breathe in and open the heart in the front and the back. And we'll intend to connect at the level of the heart, the sacred heart, or the chalice. And Yeshua speaks. Perceiving what is real. A spiritual peacemaker extends that vision by the way they live their life. Their words are of little consequence, but there is a tone or an energy in their voice that is more compelling than words. The human mind cannot understand this because it has nothing to do with the world most people perceive. A spiritual peacemaker is aware of 2 worlds at the same time. One where bodies and physicality seem to have meaning, and the other where all true meaning lies. They are able to translate between the two, and in doing so are truly helpful. So that's my intention for this evening, is to translate between these two worlds. So while we're in this space with the idea of Yeshua sitting in the circle with us, breathe in the essence, energy, and presence of one another, of the greater circle of light workers, of peacemakers, of all spiritual seekers everywhere who long for the same thing, who carry the same intention of unity, of oneness, of the truth. And in our excursion tonight, we will ideally come a little closer to bring our two seemingly separate worlds a little closer. So take another nice, long, slow, deep breath. And imagine yourself sitting literally in circle with dozens of people around a campfire, or around a column of light, or the burning bush, whatever appeals to you. And the teaching is going to come from the center, from the core, from the great mystery. As we sit and receive and transfer or translate the teachings through our own individual perceptions, we will gain exactly what we need. Another nice deep breath. Just come on back. You can open your eyes if you want to, although I promise I don't have anything to juggle, so I don't think I'll be that entertaining. And I'll try not to squirm and wiggle too much. My sentence, oh, I have to disappear again. I apologize. My sentence, by the grace of God, by the grace of God, and we have, for the most part, heard this before. We've probably heard it in prayers, in song, in circles, but I want to draw your attention to the power that is behind grace, because that's what we're going to be invoking and calling upon. This is my latest excursion into esoterics. This is the Pistis Sophia. I'm finding it wonderfully delicious. So I'm going to share some of that deliciousness with you. Grace represents the extension of the Father's loving kindness in permitting other life forms to emulate and be one with the truth. Grace represents the extension of the Father's loving kindness in permitting other life forms to emulate and be one with the truth. We are describing here something we're going to connect to that represents a glimpse into the inner workings of the mysteries themselves, a spontaneous moment of instant recognition of truth and one's place within that truth. Once experienced, this becomes elusive to the logical mind, and yet accessible via peace through the heart. And finally, this is a quote directly from the Pistis Sophia. Now therefore, grace and truth, which met together, have been sent from the regions of the height through your Father, the first mystery, that gazes inward, for he has sent you so that you may show compassion to the entire cosmos. And the paragraph is referring to the Christ body or the Christed energy, meaning the Christ energy is an intermediary or a director or a conduit for grace. The more specific, I want to use the word directors again, but instruments for that grace are Michael and Gabriel. So the Christ is the conduit, and Michael and Gabriel utilize their specific tools, almost like surgical tools, to go right to the heart of the problem. So that's by the grace of God. That's the grace that we're calling upon directly from the first mystery, through the office or the channel or the understanding or comprehension of the Christ body, the Christed component of ourselves, down into the chaos or into the places of lack of light, to penetrate right through to a specific idea or paradigm of thought. The second piece was, I am free. Well, there's the I am statement. There's the Moses Code. I am that. I am. And what do we desire more than freedom? So this is a declaration. I am free. And by using the grace, by using the power or the directive of the first mystery itself, we're making that declaration for a specific liberation, a specific component. I am free of, and this is where we get to direct it. This is where Gabriel and Michael get to direct this force of grace. And what did I say? Free of all, so that we get everything together, all financial worry. And here's where we get to use a little bit of Abraham, just in case you want to see it written down. In that we're making a declaration and an invocation and a specific target. We have a target. In our lives of survival, we're not arguing with where we get our food, or we're not hunting and gathering, we're not fighting for our sustenance. We are instead in the midst of what could be called economic terrorism. We are being held in constraints and restrictions that are numbing to us and immobilizing on many levels. So when we seek the freedom from all of the worry, that's the resistance, that's the concern, the fear, the anxiety, the tension, the stress. So I'm just using the word worry to sort of encompass all of those things. And being specific around financial, that is effectively in our root chakras. That is our survival. In our economic situation, that's really our biggest hurdle. Does that make sense? Am I okay so far? We're good. I got a thumbs up. Okay. All right. So a little bit of what I read earlier requires another little diagram. And this is just something that I'm learning to put language to. And I think I talked about this a little bit in the very first broadcast that we had. I went so fast, going a little slower. And what I depicted was, interesting too to me, is that I'm using a lot of Christian terminology, and certainly if I were involved in a Buddhist sect, or if I were in maybe any other location in the world, I would have a different religion that I'd be working with, but this is specific to this one, so that's why the terminology is the way it is. We have the totality, or the first mystery. From the first mystery, we have a creation of itself. So we have the Christ, or the Christed body, or the self-awareness. This was created so that it could look back upon first mystery and tell first mystery what it looked like. Before that, mystery didn't have a reflection of itself through which to see. So this is created in the likeness and similitude, meaning it's identical, it's a clone, and yet it has its own identification, it has its own existence. It's a creation from creation. From this segment here, there was a choice to be made, two pathways to follow, and one path went down this way, and from your point of view, the right hand of God, or the right side, or the righteousness. Righteousness. There we go. And we had this other side, the left side. Oops, I'm not writing very clearly. Is that okay? Yes, thank you. We made a decision to follow thy will or my will. In other words, the self-willed ones. This is the domain of the self-willed. And from these two extensions, every time there was a decision to create something, it was created in both worlds. So we have these, a creation from a creation, an idea that came out of an idea, and it came down, according to the book that I'm reading, about 12 levels. We have 12 other universes, 12 other dimensions that were created. And yet each one that was created in the self-willed component was also mirrored in thy will. And the first paragraph that I read, the description from Yeshua, was about a peacemaker being able to see both worlds and communicate between the two. So that's what we're going to try and do tonight. In all of these manifestations, and all of these decisions about separation, it created more and more paradigms of self-will, more and more disassociations from the truth. This is the truth of the will of the Father, which is in this realm on the right-hand side, the only realm. It is where we're awake and where we exist now. Regardless of our focus over here, this is also the manifested form. This is the side of form, and this is the side of spirit. So whether we're talking esoterics or Abraham or A Course in Miracles or the art of spiritual peacemaking, we exist in our angelic counterparts at the same time as we exist in our physical human counterparts. This would be the feminine aspect as well, the feminine side of creation itself, the masculine idea or seed thought. So by the grace of God that comes from first mystery, it's an appeal that's made from down here in the self-willed component. We're hurting. We want something. We know that in this stage of our game, in the illumined mind, we know enough to ask for help. We know enough that help exists. We may not be 100% certain as to the level of that help or the degree we can receive or accept that help, but we at least have the cognitive awareness to ask for help. And that right there is step one. There's something other. What does Laura say? I am something other than my body. There's a recognition that
I'm more than a body.
I am more than a body. There's a recognition of a hint or a glimmer or a glimpse, as I said earlier, a glimpse of the truth that manages to peek through. And it's in that asking that we are able to open ourselves up to that. And then upon that asking, of course, the answer has to come because it comes directly from ourselves. So there really is a direct reflection. Then it becomes a moment of, can I receive? So what happens is, if I'm way down here, the light actually comes from my correspondent self in the world of truth, and it comes from here all the way up and then back down in through here. It can't come this way just yet. There's no pathway for it until we get up, probably about up to here. We get the idea that we have the archangels and the ascended masters. We talk to them, we interact with them, we meditate with them, we can perceive, conceive of, and participate with them on some level. Then we get a little bit closer. I kind of see this like a zipper kind of effect, that we get a little bit closer. Our vibration rises up enough that we can at least start to meet them on closer to their territory. Although the energy still has to come this way. So it isn't quite coming across this way. It's got to go up to the top, up to the place of the Christ consciousness, up to the place where we absolutely know our place in the universe and our place in existence, and then come back down into the forms of chaos from there. Good so far? That's a lot better than my first broadcast, didn't it? A lot clearer. We're having fun. So what we're going to do is call upon the grace from the first mystery, from wherever it is that we are. And in respect to this financial freedom, it actually has a piece that exists in our farthest component aspect that is the greatest distance away from the truth. Because it speaks to our survival. It speaks to our very survival, whether we're aware of it or not. The idea of economic insecurity is terrifying. So, next step. I am free is the declaration, and that's the claiming responsibility in that all this time I've been participating in the self-willed left side. I've been making decisions based on false premises and on false gods and false idols. So it's now time to disregard them, even though they're the chattering voices of our collective unconscious and of the things that are still buried and stuck inside of me that need to be not listened to anymore, or overcome, redeemed. This is where the idea of redemption comes in. And okay, any questions so far? We good so far? Yeah? All right. My audience is happy. That's all that matters, is the audience is happy. Okay. All right. So we've had a meditation to connect us. So I want you to recognize whether you can feel it or not in a direct, tactile way. Just intend that we sit in circle with dozens of others, hundreds of others, maybe thousands of others around this planet that are all intending for the same thing. And we're going to travel into the inner planes together, because when we go to stand before the great mystery or the light of all lights, or the holiest of holies, when we stand before that, if we are not prepared, then we are blinded by that light. We cannot conceive of it. We can't even absorb it enough. It's like getting a sunburn. We got to get out of there really fast. But when we go together and we go as a collective, then the light is sort of shared amongst us, and we can receive and absorb a little bit easier. It's like many hands make the work easier. So again, I'll ask you to close your eyes or gaze at the floor or at the wall or at a candle. Take a nice, long, slow, deep breath. And in your mind's eye, I'm going to ask you to take the hand of the person next to you. To breathe through and into your open heart. On the exhale, I'd like you to drop your energy from your heart right down to your sit bones, right down into the root chakra. So we're clearing a pathway. And if you feel like energetically there's a few boxes in the hallway, something in the way, just mentally move whatever needs to be moved aside, so that the alignment from the heart down to the root is clear and simple and direct. Take another nice, long, slow, deep breath. Fill the heart with the fellowship that we are gathered with. And exhale down through the lower chakras of the solar plexus, the sacral, and open up into the root. Expand your root center now so that the roots of the tree that are your legs and your base chakra energy is solid. If you see a tree or a column that goes right down into the earth, or I like to envision almost a bell shape, an inverted cone. And that diameter of that bell or the cone, that can be as tight in to your body as you feel is comfortable, or you can expand that right out like a great big hoop skirt. And this is to prepare the lower form. This is to sort of get ready. It's like we're putting the suntan lotion on. so that we can go into the heat and into the light and not burn the lower centers. So we're preparing the lower centers. So you may or may not be experiencing a little tingling or a little activation or a little excess of energy, because all that we are has already participated in this exercise. We've just brought our bodies into this moment. So notice your physical body also. Notice if any tension occurs in the lower back, in the low sacrum area, in the root, meaning your hips, hip joints, or thighs. Breathe and soften your physical body. So this isn't just the internal energetics we're dealing with, but the physical representation as well. Notice your solar plexus. Notice if there's any constriction, because we're preparing to go into the dimension or into the realm of thy will. And sometimes the self-will has a few little resistant moments. It has a few little, what's going to happen? What am I going to have to forfeit? What control am I going to have to give up? And so just push it out of the way. Say, ego, go sit down for a little while. Go and be quiet. Go sit in your corner. And just continue to intend or visualize a straight line from the heart right down to the root, and then the bell shape of the base. Now through the Christ, through the level of the heart, we can call upon that sacred heart. So that Christed consciousness within all of us, the home we never left, the place of origin, the component of ourselves that exists right now, watching over us, the witness, the watcher, the observer, the presence, the I am. That component of ourselves that is always with us from the moment of our inception and our conception through to the moment that we return to that place. And every second in between. It has never left us. So we take a moment to really connect to that and to realize that I have never been alone, not even for a moment. And it's at the level of the heart that we can feel the ascended beings, our own guides, teachers, angels, instructors, supervisors, whatever terminology you want to use, that helping hand that we call upon, and feel, sense, and perceive through the heart. Take a moment to solidify that relationship. However you have perceived it in the past, allow with every breath an expansion of that relationship, a deepening, a strengthening of that relationship. And allowing the sacred heart, the high heart now, to come into place as the energy shifts into a different gear. And this moves into your own sacred wisdom, the portal or access way through your higher energy centers, through your throat and your third eye and through your crown. So we want a nice clean line also from the heart through to the crown. And if you feel anything in your inner ear, a tickle in your throat, it's just an indication that there's some things to shift or move out of the way. The same way we did it for the lower centers, just shift them out of the way and intend a nice clean line. And notice the physiology, notice your body. If there's, the shoulders have crept up around your ears, then breathe and let them drop. Soften the front of your chest, your rib cage, your lungs, and the back of your chest, the rib cage at the back. Let your shoulder blades give a little stretch or a little wiggle to make room for your angelic wings, that aspect of yourself that is residing at this moment on that level, in that plane. And so we are hand in hand, or arm in arm, or shoulder to shoulder. If you feel the need to press in a little closer, to feel the comfort of other peace seekers, light workers, then do so. bring yourself into a place that feels strong to you, where you feel supported and surrounded. Good. And now we all walk together, however you see that. I got a quick little image just now of the Beatles walking down the beach, or the Monkees, I think it is, walking down the beach, one of those old songs. And we walk together now towards the great mystery. And so there is a little bit of an indication that there is a slope, or there is a gradient that we need to climb up. You may perceive them as stairs, or simply the base of a mountain, and beginning to climb up. And it needs to have the feeling of some determination is required, some effort is required. I need to take the next step. I need to take the next step. And I need to push from the root of myself. I need to push from my legs up to the higher realms. I need to climb this mountain, arm in arm and hand in hand, with my brothers and my sisters. And we're heading towards a peak of this mountain that is so bright that at first we may wish to gaze down at our feet and simply see ourselves taking one step at a time, climbing ever higher. And if there's a moment where you may falter or feel uncertain, or sense or perceive a brother or a sister faltering, lend your courage or borrow courage. Lend your strength or borrow strength. And we get to a certain point where now, as we just pause, with ahead of us is the brightest of lights, an intense heat, radiance, and a sense of awareness. And behind us now are the angels and the guides. Those beings that we used to look up to are now at our backs. They are our support, and they will not let us fall. So sense or perceive that presence at our backs, rather than having to fend off the lower self-willed paradigms and thoughts. We have climbed high enough on the mountain that only the angels tend to us now. And so we continue the climb. And it is very steep. And it's meant to be, I need to take the next step. I can take the next step. I am built for this. I am wired for this. This is my right to stand before the face of this consciousness. And so now we stand at the plateau or the realm of the Christ. And we'll pause here for a moment and look around. Perceive what your brain or your mind or your heart will perceive. Feel what you can feel. Notice how your body responds to this location in time and space. Allow your whole beingness to simply absorb this for a moment. We stand with all members of the office of the Christ now. We stand in the presence, in the likeness and similitude of God. That which has never forgotten its place in all of existence. We stand now in their presence, in our own presence. And together, we move forward now to stand in front of perhaps an altar, perhaps a flame, perhaps a brilliant radiance. by the grace of God. By the grace of God. The essence, energy, power of grace flows to you now into your crown chakra. Your crown is open like a 1,000-petaled lotus. And this grace now flows directly through your crown into your heart, like a laser or a fire that burns, hot and bright, right down into the heart. By the grace of God, into the heart. I am free. I am free. A declaration. I am that. I am free. And now the light sears from the heart directly to the root. Straight line directly down, pelvic floor, base chakra, root chakra. I am free of all financial worry. I am free of all financial worry. The Trinity. I am free of all financial worry. By the grace of God, from crown to root. Anchoring on the physical plane, through the physical body, through all realms, all strands of DNA, through the biology and the chemistry that is physical, that is form, from the righteous, from the formless to the form, to make manifest the glory that is the truth. Gabriel and Michael are in attendance, protecting and guiding the potent nature of this light, safeguarding any other aspects of ourselves that are not ready to face this just yet. By the grace of God, I am free of all financial worry. Allow your entire body to sink right down into that truth until it becomes an absolute knowing. Until there is no question whatsoever of that truth. Remember to breathe and simply remain open to this initiation. As we do this for ourselves, we do so for the collective, for there is no other. So perceive for a moment the weight of this, meaning the responsibility of this, meaning the ability to respond to this clarion call for freedom. We don't have to concern ourselves in this moment with the dispersal of this, only to receive this dispensation. We have asked, it is given, and it is our responsibility to hold fast to that. And so we drop it again to the root, to the tailbone, the tip of the tailbone, the pelvic floor, sit bones, hips, hip joints, legs, and feet. Remember to breathe. Remember to breathe. And so in your mind's eye, we collectively step back from the mystery, from the intensity. And we just sort of wander off a little bit into the peripheral areas of the Christ consciousness, as if we had moved to the center for a moment where the intensity was. And now we're just moving a little bit away from the brightness of the fire, so that we might interact and dialogue and share our experiences, support and sustain and maintain one another in the journey that is sure to unfold after this initiation has had an opportunity to start to clear away some of the little smaller paradigms. And allowing yourself to take whatever you wish with you, whatever you have perceived, felt, gathered, enjoyed, to bring it with you. And we're just going to come down a little ways off the mountain. We're coming down back into form. So find your crown chakra. Find the top of your head. And gradually stepping down, bringing the light with us to the level where we interacted with our angels and our ascended masters and teachers of the inner planes. And to take a moment and interact with them, with this new insight. See what it does to your relationship with these beings, these aspects of yourself that live in that world, in that home we never left. See if the language doesn't get a little clearer. The perceptions aren't a little clearer. And then find your third eye and your throat, and find your heart. Step down just a little bit more into form, into your body. Find your lungs, your chest, front of your heart and the back of your heart. Find your arms. Find your rib cage and your stomach and your torso. Feel your feet and feel your legs. And you can leave your eyes closed a little bit longer if you want to enjoy the juiciness, or if you want to pick up on the various perceptions or messages that your body is relaying and transmitting to you now. You may wish to journal some of your insights. You may have some questions. You may wish to share with us the experience that you just had, so that we can all enjoy on this level of communicating, not just the one on the inner planes. So after something like this, I like to stretch and give my body, my physical body, more space for all that presence and all that light to be there. Sometimes my spine argues with me a little bit. In the bringing down of all that light, it causes my physical body to remind me that there are some forms of resistance in there. So there's some yawning and some stretching and some subluxations that need to realign themselves. My body right now is cold. I'm very, very cold. as we were moving up into those dimensions, that's how I experienced this level of intensity of light and of potential healing or initiation. It's very cold. At one point I was shaking. It was so cold and I was shaking, except when we dropped it right down into the root, when that the grace of God came through the crown and into the root, and it was grounded. So there's this determination, there's this, I am free, I'm making a statement, and I'm not just saying it, I mean it. I mean it through all parts of me. I'm done being led astray by the false gods, by the stress, by the anxiety, by the worry, by the fear, by the paradigms. So that determination is very powerful. Does anyone have anything they want to share? Any stories? Call us, chat with us. I don't even know if we have any viewers watching. Never mind, I don't care. Doesn't matter. How about our studio audience? Do you have anything you want to share?
I'll just say, you can repeat this. 'Cause
Okay.
You probably can't hear me.
Okay.
Watch this week. I think this has stirred stuff that, so watch very carefully,
Yeah.
because I think this would have stirred a lot. And
This-
it's okay.
Yeah. This was an initiation. This was a royal hit. A royal hit. And here's where I get to toot my own horn, okay? I've listened to dozens, if not hundreds, of different meditations, different styles, different ways of taking us to the same place. And yet it requires a sponsorship. I can listen to a tape. I can listen to someone else who's reading a script of a meditation, but unless there's someone holding open the door, then it's just words. It's left to my own ability or inability to reach that height. So what happened now was my sponsorship for not only what we did just now, but it's recorded now for posterity. So it's available anytime. So we can go back and do this particular meditation, and the intensity of the sponsorship will be held in the Merkaba until we don't need it anymore.
Ask them to email us if they have questions.
Yep, you're welcome to email us. We're gonna
Or on the ticker.
We're going to put it on the, what did you say the text said? The screen.
At the Reiki Center.
admin@thereikicenter.ca. Send us an email. Tell us your story. You might have a little bit more to tell than you can actually speak in this moment. There was a lot going on for everybody, and because there were so many of us there, we'll hear each other's, we will have heard each other's stories. So we will have been in common resonance with not only our intention, but groups of us perceive things in very similar fashion. And so I'm shaking like crazy. I'm really, really cold, and I'm going to have to go and hug a tree or something, or maybe hug somebody to ground. Let's see. Where else do we need to go? All right, I'm going to bring up my little picture diagram again, because what I'm getting the indication of is this initiation moved right from here all the way up and all the way back down. So the repercussions are going to be felt on 12 levels or dimensions of perception for each strand of DNA that we have, whether we have 2 active strands according to science right now, but we have the potential for 12. And this is the idea where that comes into play, that we are awakening dormant cellular structure within our bodies. Who's really good at that? Greg Braden, the God Code, the science around the DNA and the RNA and the cellular structure and the crystallization of our bodies, the luminescence or the light bodies. There's other authors that are much more eloquent in terms of describing the intellectual or technical aspects of it, but essentially we're recreating ourselves in the likeness and similitude. We were talking about this last week or the week before, around we're told we're created in the likeness and similitude of God. And yet all we've really understood at this point is the likeness, because the similitude requires us to be able to generate light from the inside. So that goes from the place of, I don't have a whole lot of light, I need to call to the light or invoke the light, to reaching the recognition, the courage, the strength, the knowing, the ability, the responsibility, the practice, the, I'm still not hitting the right word, fortitude, to generate light within ourselves, because that would be the similitude component. We are not yet at similitude if we cannot generate the light from within. If we're still calling upon the light, we're still on the left-hand side. We're still recreating ourselves in the image that perpetually exists in the home we never left. It's not until we are in merge or overlap with that true self that we will be able to really I don't have any words. Really make it happen. You know, until then, as far as we feel like we've come, we're still crawling. We're still doing the baby steps. We're still ciphering through and cleaning up the remnants of past ideas of, we thought we could do it ourselves, or we thought we wanted to give it a try. Let me go see without thy will. Let me go use my will and see how far I can get. And even in our establishment of empowerment, moving out of an imbalance of victimhood, for example, or moving out of an imbalance of rage or destructive ideas, moving into the first few levels of healing of the self, of bringing back our true power, until we absolutely surrender on every single level of our being to thy will, we're not there. And that means, well, for me, we talked about it at dinner, it means I might have to face forfeiting or surrendering or giving up something that my will says, I can't do without that. That would be horrifying. I can't do without that. And yet, that's what I have to face. I have to be able to say, yeah, thy will, all the way, whatever it takes, whatever it takes. And then what ASP teaches us, nothing that we love is ever lost. Nothing real is ever forfeit. And so those parts of ourselves that say, but, I can't, wah, 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 that's just an indicator that we're still on the left side. We haven't integrated enough of the right side, enough of the truth of our beingness to have the fortitude to continue to stand. Something else we were talking about today, I wanted to, there's an indicator of having to climb the mountain or having to fight our way or be extremely diligent and disciplined with our spiritual practice, because it isn't something that isn't habitual. It isn't a habitual thing. We have to create that habit or create the discipline around that practice. But then there's a point in the practice where we reach an apex or a tipping point, and then it becomes, well, of course I'm going to meditate today. Of course I'm going to sit with God today. Of course I'm going to do my prayers. Of course I'm going to do my yoga practice. Whatever it is that brings us into alignment with that peace, ease, and grace. Of course I'm going to do that. I wouldn't think of not doing it. Until it becomes the norm, we realize we're still fighting. We're still fighting with the minions of the self-willed world. Anything else? Anything else? How are we doing? We're doing great. I don't think, Laura was speaking to be very mindful over the next 7 days. I'm going to say 12, because we did 12 aspects of self, and there's, according to my Pistis Sophia book, there are 12 repentances. At the bottom, she doesn't even realize how pitiful it is. She just knows it's pitiful, and she's got to get out. But by the time she gets up to 8, 9, 10, she's more certain of herself. She's more clear of the invocation. It's working. Not only is it working, but I'm benefiting from it. When she gets up into 11 and 12, she's really saying, thank you. It's already done. Thank you. It's done. So the levels of certainty increase. So I'm going to say 12 for that reason. But Laura was saying to be very mindful of this next little while, because the crap's going to hit the fan. I don't think you said that, but I'm saying it. Because the Cuisinart went in there, you know, and it stirred things up. And there's another story in my Pista Sophia book is when when the formed starts to ask and starts to open up to the light, those paradigms of self-will, the little voices, they want to gobble up the light. They want it for themselves. And then they end up taking it and twisting it, and it becomes bastardized again. It becomes garbled and confusing. And it's like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. And so this is, on many occasions, people have gotten off our table and we've said, you're really open. Don't go near anybody today. Don't turn on the TV. Don't turn on the radio. Don't listen to the news. Don't allow yourself to be distracted by anything in the outside world. Just keep turning in. Just stay cozy, stay safe, drink herbal tea, take hot baths, curl up by a fire. Do things that are very kind and gentle and tender and easy for yourself while this fresh skin is developing. Yeah? Good?
And watch for the stories of, and particularly around financial, because that's what we were doing tonight. Watch for the stories that you might be so familiar with, it's almost like second nature. And then realize that there's a new way to perceive it, a new way to think about it, a new way to, a different story.
So Laura is saying be particularly mindful of the stories around the financial stuff, because that was the operation. I keep thinking of that game Operation where they go in with a tiny little tool. Don't touch the edge because you get zapped. We went in for something very specific. Yeah. And the old patterns, the old habitual grooves of thought, like a record player, and the grooves in a record player, and the slow down. I'm going to say the best tool for that is to slow down. Oh, I just had a thought about money. Slow down. Wait. Push the pause button. Don't make any decisions, outside or inside, until there's been an opportunity or a moment to say, there's a different way to perceive this. There is an opportunity, an opening in there. I would also say be mindful of reactions. And what I'm seeing is those outside forces. There's, how do I put this? There's schools of thought that'll say, they're out to get you. There's evil thought forms. And Abraham, of course, says there is no source of evil. There is no source of darkness. There is just a lack of light. And yet, the perpetuation of the lack of light has given rise to what feels like or seems like evil entities. Organizations, insurance companies, banks, brokerage houses, it seems almost like they've been personified, and the entities have been created that are out to get us and out to create fear and anxiety in us. So hold on to your light. Don't feed it anywhere. Yes, it is being recorded. Just wanted to remind you that you can watch it over and over again, or I would please ask you to distribute it. Use that Facebook and get it out there, because why shouldn't we all be financially free? Why not? I've always been one to say, why not? Why not? Forget about the whys. Never mind. Why not? Oh, I don't know when our next show is. February the 24th. Friday, February the 24th at 8 o'clock. We'll do this again. I hope you enjoyed tonight. I really enjoyed participating. I thank you for everyone's participation now and in the future. We are all peacemakers at heart. It's the only game in town. Might as well enjoy it. Any other administration I need to? No? I can go to close? Beautiful. Exactly. If you need us, you know where to reach us. And please do reach out, because one of the things that eats the light up the fastest, and faster than we can almost invoke it and bring it in, is not being able to connect with others of like mind, is feeling like we're alone out there in the world. Nothing eats it up faster than feeling lonely. There's no excuse for that. right here. Okay, so we're going to close our circle then and intend that everyone participating tonight is also a part of anyone else who visits this video. So we not only lend our energy to this moment and this past hour, but we lend it to our future generations. May they be next week, next month, next year, or 10 years from now. Because we all agreed to that too. We just don't remember. So we're going to finish with Yeshua again, because the man just loves to have the last word. I believe it's lesson 215. And I hope it ties it up. Okay, you ready? You deserve so much. That is why I have been so patient with you, and why I give so much every moment. Now you must be patient with yourself and with everyone I give to you. Begin to imitate me, just as I imitate the one who sent us both. I will offer more and more souls for you to love and transform, for that is the role you must fulfill now. It is the next step in your mastery and in your enlightenment. That is how you will stay awake, which is all that I ask. If you are awake, then you must perceive everything that happens around you as God perceives it. If you are asleep, then it will be impossible for you to know what anything really is. To love something, you must be able to identify it clearly. If you see only the shadow, you will misidentify what it is. Open your eyes and see what it is and has always been in front of you, and then you will be free. So thank you. God bless.